5 this morning. He is on now at 8:07. There we are. Good morning, sir. How are you? It's a pleasure having you.
Good morning.
Seeing you again.
It's a pleasure to see you. Great to see you.
When the groundhog makes an appearance, I know spring is around the corner. When Drake Bassett makes an appearance, I know it's almost time for the next Palmer home. It's hard to believe this is the 11th. That means 2012, doesn't it? Was the first one we did?
That's right. I think you were, you were 30 and I was 25. And
yeah.
So it feels like that. No, it's just a few years ago we started that, and we're so grateful. So grateful. It's amazing. It's the 11th year.
It is, and at that day, hopefully it's going to be the biggest and the best ever. Let me mention to you that we're from the Trustmark Studios. Trustmark, people you trust, advice that works. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender. And that said, it kind of leads me into this one, if I could take a little bit of a track off path here for a second. All these corporate sponsors out there, who over the last 12 years have come on because of the Radiothon, and they've gained knowledge of this. And even though you guys have been here for 128 years, there are a lot of people who didn't know about the Palmer home, and the evolution that's happened since in this 12 years has been remarkable, and it all leads to saving a lot of lives, changing a lot of lives, and man, that's important. Just hats off to all the corporate sponsors. We rely a lot on all of our individuals, but so many of the corporate people who've gotten involved in this and met with you. And there's room for more, as you well know. But your thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree more. It's been wonderful to see so many individual donors be involved for, as you say, over 128 years. But businesses are run by people. People work at these businesses. They want to be a part of things that make a difference in their community or in their state. And so I think the uptick in businesses being involved is a reflection of the Radiothon, the regular conversations we're able to have. And we love it when businesses bring their teams out to our wellness center to have a lunch and maybe have a tour.
Yeah.
And they can do that anytime they want. But to your point, that has been incredible. And we're so grateful to the many businesses out across Mississippi and in the region that get involved.
It was a story I mentioned earlier this morning, but I did, and I was telling Perez earlier that I just didn't get any sleep last night from one of those things I couldn't get back to sleep. And I'm thinking about this interview, and I thought, well, one of the things that we know for sure, and maybe over the last 10 or 15 years, generations we've gotten better and better as far as kids' health and safety. It just seems like the last 5 or 10 years, the world is a more dangerous place for children.
Yep.
And I don't know how to, other than in Mississippi and some other states that have stopped abortions or at least limited the abortions in many of the states, it is becoming a more dangerous place out there. The sex trafficking, drugs, and everything else is just rampant. I have one story here, and I mentioned this a little earlier. A video has surfaced of Russian soldiers describing how they found a baby factory in the Ukraine, where young children are raised for pedophiles in a child brothel, or after they are used up and they become mentally distraught or whatever, or physically sick, then they are killed, and their organs are sold on the black market. This sounds like some horrendous story out there, but it's not.
Yeah.
The video was published by People's Voice. They mentioned how other sources in Russia have covered this issue. The Western media has just blanked it out. Russians are not the only ones who've documented this horrible practice of trafficking babies and young children for sex and then murdering them for their body parts. 2 years ago, it was published in a documentary published by the Polish film director Patrick Vega called The Eyes of the Devil. I'll leave it at that, but just gives you an idea of what is going on in this world.
Well, you're absolutely right, Paul. And if you take a look at the cultural issues that we look at probably, and you look at them every day, and you talk about them, then you'd have to be blind not to acknowledge that the intensity level has gone way up. Well, that filters down into the lives of children who are vulnerable because they can't change their circumstance. When you're 7 or 8 years old, you can't navigate your way out of an environment like that. If it's drug infested, or if there's trafficking, or if there's prostitution, or if there is poverty, for instance, which drives people to do things that, create other complications. So there's this increasing pressure on children's situations. And when you read, it's interesting, we read about places like Russia or Central America, where there's body part harvesting, where there's human trafficking, and it breaks our heart. The reality is, it is a multi-billion-dollar operation globally, and we should not be surprised to think that the United States is a prime market for a lot of that. So things do happen in Mississippi, things do happen in Texas, Tennessee, Nebraska, and so it's around us. But I think even more to the point, something we might all relate to, which is locally, I think when adults are under a lot of pressure, and you look at some of these cultural issues that have us stressed out, all you have to do is jump on your social media and get stressed out just by looking at some of the conflict. That dysregulation pushes down to children. And so we see that even on our campus, where children are just simply trying to stay calm, and let's just stay relaxed, and let's let them enjoy to be children. Last night, you'll enjoy this. I was out walking with my wife, and we went by the pool, and there were about 10 or 12 kids in the pool, and they were just laughing, and they were swimming. And I thought to myself, this is an idyllic moment. It could have come out of any decade. Could be the 1950s, could be the 1940s, could have been 1980, whatever. But apart from that, it's a very different world. And to your point, there are a lot of pressures that we're up against.
And also, for a Kodachrome moment, you could take a snapshot of any of those kids individually or the siblings together and think where they would be other than in that pool laughing, had it not been for individual and corporate sponsors and you guys at the Palmer home. And it would have been another horrendous thought if, in fact, they would have survived.
I think that's right. And I hope that the businesses and individuals who contribute to Palmer Home believe that. We get to see it. And when I see kids like that, knowing their story, knowing some of the difficult places they've come from, and to your point, what could have been if they hadn't come here, well, then, it's worth every penny.
I just hope that people who, in their moments of did I do enough today or did I do this, in their prayers and that meditation, if they've given to Palmer Home, in regardless of what amount it happens to be, Blake, I want them to know that, feel good about that. You have done something, and every single day, Drake Bassett, the staff there are doing all they possibly can to make sure any dollars you give are used in the proper way. And not only that, but somebody asked me not too long ago, because I always, if somebody has passed away, and instead of sending flowers, I always send a donation to Palmer Home. That's just one of the ways to do that. But you guys helping kids in more than one way, not just the ones who are there as residents, but there are so many other ways that you guys are involved. So don't think for a moment that these guys are, just one line there as far as kids in residency. Tell folks who may not know this the other ways that you're helping out.
Well, I think it's exciting to see, for instance, children who turn 18, who are, still in a situation where what we would think of as maybe a traditional family structure isn't fully present. So we're that family. Palmer Home remains that family, and we love being involved with children as they make their way towards independence. So we have a transitional program, and we're working with children 18 to 24, and it's great to see them get their first car or get their first job or go to college. Yeah. We're here for that.
But the other ways too, and I want to talk about this when we come back, is the foster care program.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but getting kids back to their parents, their biological parents, whenever possible, as fast as possible. And that's another objective. So we'll talk about those two things, too, when we come back with Drake Bassett, President and CEO, Mississippi Palmer Home, right after this one. We are scheduled July 13th. It's on a Thursday for the 11th Annual Radiothon 2012. Not sure what the number one song was back in 2012. Back with more next. Back with Drake Bassett, President and CEO, Palmer Home, The number one song in 2012 was, one of them was Kelly Clarkson's If It Doesn't Kill You, It'll Make You Stronger. And the number one movie of 2012, $1.51 billion, was The Avengers. And that was our first year doing the Radiothon. No, we were talking about the foster home project, and also the just getting kids back, and there are other ways that you are helping the situation at the Palmer home.
Well, I appreciate that, Paul, because I think sometimes people naturally would think of the great legacy and the great history of Palmer Home, the campus out of Columbus, where, over 100 years ago, the building was built with the idea in mind that this is where people would come and they would grow up and be there forever. Over time, needs have changed and we have evolved. And so we are grateful for our residential campus that's now in Hernando, and homes where children can be, especially if they come out of a crisis situation.
Yeah.
But the reality is we've expanded. So you're right. We have families, if they're interested, they can become foster families. We'll train and coach them. And really, it's an extension of Palmer Home. It's the Palmer Home concepts and principles, our approach to care, whole child. We share that with foster families. So where children need maybe a more concentrated environment, or they're ready for that permanent type family situation, that's foster care, and we're doing it. As I mentioned, we're also doing transitional care for kids 18 and up, but we're also working, as you say, with families. When you think about it, Palmer Home gets involved when something's in the middle of a story, it's come apart. But I think originally the family was supposed to be together. So if we can help that family come back together, if a child can go back to its family, if it's safe and healthy, and we're willing to coach parents on that path back, then that is a great story. So reunification is a big deal with us if we can make it happen.
One of the things over the years, and we've talked about this so many years, and it, I mean, sometimes 3-4 hours for each of us. But when you start talking about getting these kids in the most stressful of times, they're pulled away from their mother and father, mother and father, but they're also separated from their brothers and sisters. And it's just a blessing to know that there is a place out there that will keep them together. And man, that's priceless.
I think it is, and I think it's really special, and it continues to be a reality for us. It's not just something that's part of our history. Today on our campus, there are several sets of siblings, and seeing them being able to bond together because they're in a situation where they know each other, obviously, and they're close, and they know their own family origins. It gives them, I think, an extra level of comfort, and it gives them a peace of mind that they wouldn't have otherwise. So if you've already been pulled away, maybe from a father or a mother or a guardian or a grandparent, and you're fixing to be on your own, and you're going to be in a very new environment, it means the world to them to be able to look over and see a brother or sister and be able to be together. So I love seeing these sibling sets. They're fun because they know each other and they've got their own personalities. Yeah. We've got a set of brothers right now that are just fun to be around, and they got their challenges, they got every day, but it's great that they can be there together. They're learning and growing together. And so,
and also what incredible support they have there between the two or three of them or whatever, because and that's so important, especially in those first few weeks that they are in a new location.
That's right. I've often thought about children who go into any sort of setting outside of their own natural home. And the way I think about it is they're going into a new room, a new building, a new set of people. And when they go to sleep at night, that's a brand new ceiling that they got to stare at the wall or up above them. To me, I think creating that safety, creating that affection, creating that environment where children can feel safe, over time, they're going to feel connected.
Absolutely.
And over time, they're going to thrive. And so that's what we want to do.
A couple of things that we need to put in here because it is important. These guys at the Palmer Home get no federal dollars, no state dollars. The state nor the feds can tell them what to do as far as using the money that they've contributed, because they don't.
That's right.
It comes from you. There is a religious background and also work ethic background that these kids have when they leave and become some great rounded citizens, and we've seen that in some of the graduates. Your final thoughts, sir?
Well, I appreciate you mentioning that, because when people donate and give to us, that's what we're trying to do. We're not only trying to create that safety, but we're also trying to give them a fundamental sense of right and wrong, a fundamental sense of, hey, you've got an opportunity to make something of your life. We'll teach you how to work. We'll teach you how to have a little fun, but we're also going to shape you for the future. And hopefully we've been able to do that over the years, and we look forward to doing more of it. So we thank you, Paul. We thank SuperTalk and everybody out there being involved with our Radiothon.
Anything different this year leading into this? We're not that far away from it. This is the 27th. It'll be here 2 or 3 weeks, about 3 weeks away, July 13th. So are we doing anything differently now, or is it?
Well, the only thing I would say is
the Wellness Center, or where's it going to be?
It's going to be in the Wellness Center. So this will be our second time to do that. We've been there for a year, and I think people are going to love it. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a little hotter, I think.
Well, do you have air conditioning in the Wellness Center?
We do. We put it in there just for you. So, you know.
then we are okay. I thank you so very much, Drake. If you want more information leading up to this, if any of you individuals or businesses out there kind of want to prepare for this with if you're a business and your employees or something, a little competition, anything is welcomed. And the Palmer Home is easy to reach on the internet. The phone number is what?
Well, I would suggest go to palmerhome.org. That's the easiest and best way to go. And especially to your point, Paul, if businesses want to challenge each other, now's a good time to ramp that up and get ready to make that gift on radio.
Oh, it's a very good time. I always like the $5 jar on the counter there. They can fill that up, or even a dollar jar. I don't care. Drake, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. It's always good talking to you.
Paul, thank you. We appreciate it so much.
You got it.
Always good to see you. Take care.
Take care. Don't forget, put it on your calendar. It is the 11th annual Radiothon, Thursday, July the 13th, and make sure you are a part of that.